Germany's green and affluent Bavaria is home to picture-perfect castles, big corporations and Oktoberfest. It soon hopes to lay claim to another European prize. The post of the European Commission's president could go to this Bavarian politician, Manfred Weber. A figure largely unknown to European voters, he now tops the list of the centrist European People's Party, the largest in the European Parliament. If things go well enough for EPP member parties across Europe, he should get the powerful job of the EU's executive chief. His campaign mantra is building bridges across Europe's divides by being firmly rooted in the political middle. We have made it very clear that the politics has to be made in the centre and not by the left wing or by dimwits from the right. And I'll give you my word, with your support, I want, I can, and I will be the President of the Union. His trouble is the party's vote is eroding, both in Bavaria and on the European stage.
Ich bin mit ganzem Herzen Europäer. Ich liebe es, für Europa arbeiten zu dürfen.
In his campaign video, Weber presents himself as the local man, with his Christian roots in a small Bavarian town. Bavaria has changed since the last European election, and the fear of this change has been shifting its politics to the right. Deggendorf, a town with a population of just over 30,000, bore the brunt of the refugee crisis along with the rest of the region. More than 1 million asylum seekers crossed Germany's border back in 2015, many passing through this area. Deggendorf registered the highest vote for the far-right AfD party in Bavaria in the last national election. Paul Linzmeier is Weber's party's leader in Deggendorf. He puts the blame with Germany's growing nationalism on Europe. Surely the migration crisis of the past years didn't help in a way people would think Europe supports us, but they think Europe is part of the problem. I'm sorry for this, because Europe did have the chance to reverse this way of thinking and to demonstrate if all 28 member countries act together, then it doesn't really matter who is the president of the United States. It doesn't matter what China does. It doesn't matter what happens in Africa and how many refugees are on the way, because altogether we could solve the problem. But it hasn't come this way, I'm afraid. In response, the government has been implementing a reversal of Angela Merkel's liberal refugee policy. All new arrivals to Bavaria are now housed in so-called anchor centers, like this one, with 600 people in it. Abo came to Germany from Senegal.
In 2014 bin ich gekommen, wo ich nach Deutschland gekommen. Ich hatte schon Arbeit gehabt und alles.
In 2014, I came to Germany. I already had a job, my own apartment too. But now it's all gone because of the government. They have taken my job, my apartment, and sent me to a communal center. And this is a bit hard. He has already been told he will be deported, but is now waiting for the final court decision. Housing all asylum seekers in mass accommodation is a new controversial attempt, led by Bavaria, to streamline Germany's asylum process. Nermin Jenetzke says authorities are keen to deport people like Abo as soon as possible. We have a political problem here. AfD as well as CSU don't want the refugees to feel too comfortable. Living in the centre isn't very pleasant. You may read otherwise in the interviews with politicians, but when you find yourself in it, you know it's not very nice. She was campaigning for refugee rights at the centre, and this, she says, has cost her her job as a German teacher. Her friend and fellow volunteer thinks AfD will show a good result in the European election too. I think the people who will take part in the European elections will likely vote the same way they did in the election for the Bavarian Parliament. Not always it is all about ideas, but also about the question, which party am I very close to? I think that AfD again will have a large popular vote here in Deggendorf. This worries Weber and his party. Polls show the Grand Coalition is set to lose its majority after 40 years and populists will gain. On election day of May 26, there is a great deal at stake. There are deep concerns that populist parties and even nationalist parties will get a big share in the European Parliament and then could block Europe. And this is the reason why voters must be aware that the stakes are high if the Europe that we know and value can live on. So my appeal is, please go and have your vote, take the election seriously and please vote for democratic parties. We need the competition between the democratic parties, but first of all we have to ensure that we close ranks and secure the partnership. His party faithful are worried too. I have to say honestly, I'm worried that our society will drift apart. And one forgets too much about togetherness, even towards migrants. The worry in Bavaria is that the shift to the right will be too strong. The right wing perceive their positions in such a way that they become powerful. This has to be kept under control somewhere. And here they are, just a few miles down the road. The beer is flowing at the AfD party gathering and the expectations are building up. Jörg Meuthen is the AfD's only deputy currently serving in the European Parliament. He heads his party's list in Germany and hopes for a big surge after the election. I want to make it clear. We run for the European elections to make a difference, and therefore we're going to move in with a very strong squad. And we'll be going to form a new parliamentary group with other strong squads from Italy, the Lega from Austria, with our friends of the FPO and many others. And then you will see one can make a difference, what you can't do when you are on your own. Migration is what angers the voters here, and they don't want European solutions. If you criticize something or have legitimate worries, you will be instantly dubbed as a Nazi. This is really wrong. Many Muslim young migrants are in Europe. I find that this is bad. I want the sovereignty of the national states in Europe. We are in the need of a Europe of the fatherlands, based upon friendly relations. I think the European Union does more harm to this as it does do any good. His party decided not to campaign for Dexit, aiming to change Europe from within instead. Our goal is to reform the European Union from head to toe. We want to walk away from the development towards the United States of Europe. That's not us. What we want is a Europe of the fatherlands, which cooperate wisely, like it used to be in the early years of the European Union. And with the European election now only weeks away, it will soon become clear what Germany's shifting politics will mean for Europe's future.